This tutorial is targeted at schools that are looking for funding opportunities within the Erasmus Plus program. It gives an overview of the Erasmus Plus application process and concerns the following actions. Key Action 1. Mobility of school staff. And Key Action 2. Strategic partnerships in the field of school education. This tutorial is part of the Teacher Academy online course Erasmus Plus Funding Opportunities for Schools on School Education Gateway. Please note that the Erasmus Plus program guide published by the European Commission is the official and most comprehensive source of information about the program, including full details of the opportunities supported by Erasmus Plus. To submit a proposal for funding for an activity or project under the Erasmus Plus program, all applicants have to fill in and send an electronic application. Before you start preparing your application, you should have, on the one hand, a concrete project idea agreed on and supported by all those who will contribute to it in your school and, if applicable, your partner organizations. On the other hand, a good knowledge of the Erasmus Plus key action you intend to apply for, particularly its objectives and its formal requirements, also known as the eligibility criteria. For example, the requirement to include a minimum number of partners from specific countries or regions in your proposal may vary according to the planned key action and should be checked carefully. In order to apply for funding under the Erasmus Plus program, it is necessary to create an EU login and request for a unique participant identification code, usually referred to as the PIC number. If your school does not have yet these identifiers, it is good to create them well in advance of the application period. First, you need to create an EU login, which you will use to apply for the 9-digit PIC number. Only organizations with a validated PIC number are entitled to benefit from the Erasmus Plus grant, and therefore, please make sure your project partners, if applicable, also have it. It is important that the school pursues a whole school approach to a European project. This means that the European activities are included as an integral part of the development planning within the school, rather than additional activity. The project should always contribute to the strategic objectives of the school. For example, in case of staff mobility, you need to consider how the planned training course or mobility activities reflect on the school's priorities. When planning to involve partners, it is essential to consult with the participating organizations well in advance to ensure that the project is in line with everyone's international cooperation strategy. It is also essential to ensure that the partners are capable of implementing the tasks, and if the project is approved, that they are committed to giving it their full institutional support. In a later module, we will explain the whole school approach in more detail. All the applications will be assessed either by the national agency staff or by independent experts. In both cases, the following suggestions will help you prepare your application for this assessment. Remember that the assessment is based exclusively on the information you provide in the application. Therefore, you should present all distinguishing features of your project and respond to all the subpoints of the award criteria, paying attention to the specific context. Make sure you demonstrate a realistic time frame and explain your working methodology. Take into account that your proposal needs to be ready to start when the eligibility period begins. Please provide evidence of your expertise in this respect and explain how all parties involved in the project will contribute to its implementation and success. Describe your project in a structured and focused way. Be precise, explain concepts and ideas, and avoid abbreviations, acronyms, and paraphrasing the call for proposals. Support your statements with facts and figures and use examples. A good proposal needs to be coherent and concrete in its entirety, avoiding contradictions. You know your project's rationale and strengths. Make sure these are clear to a reader. A successful proposal demonstrates that it will produce concrete and sustainable results for the benefit of the target groups and the stakeholders concerned. Clearly explain your dissemination and exploitation plans. Dissemination means the ways you let other people know about your project, and exploitation means the ways this project will benefit not only your school, but also your community in the long run, even after its conclusion. Think about how you plan on documenting your project. All the activities and achievements need to be documented so you can present the results and demonstrate how they affected change during and after the project. Get in touch with other schools in your region or country for some advice. Once the draft proposal is ready, give it to a colleague external to your project but familiar with the program and the action you are applying for. This peer review allows you to identify aspects you could have overlooked or clarify assumptions or insufficiently demonstrated statements. When you start working on the project's content, take some time to get to know the official application forms you will be using. Applications need to be submitted electronically using the correct form for the action, attaching the requested additional documents. The best way to understand the application drafting and submission process is to print the paper version of the form together with the provided guidelines and, if applicable, to share these documents with your partners well in advance. The application form includes data input checks that will guide and help you through the process, ensuring that only specific data is filled into certain fields, that mandatory fields are not left empty, that the page limits are respected, and that some eligibility requirements related, for instance, to the composition of partnership are respected. The application is composed of the form and mandatory attachments that you will find on the Erasmus Plus website under Resources and Tools and Documents. The form contains the applicant's data and, if relevant, those of the partners, together with some basic information related to the nature of the proposal, its duration, its budget, and so on. The list of mandatory attachments is specified in the checklist section of each form. Make sure to prepare the application package well in advance and don't wait until the last minute to submit your application. When all is done, you can submit your proposal and wait for electronic acknowledgement of receipt with your application reference number. It is also important to know how your application will be assessed. The first thing to be checked is eligibility, meaning if the application fulfills certain formal requirements. The eligibility criteria for each key action are explained in full in the program guide. After this, the proposal will be assessed based on its quality by the national agency staff or independent experts. The evaluators assess the proposal and awarded points according to the award criteria listed in the program guide. These award criteria evaluate the relevance of the project, the quality of the project design and implementation, the quality of the project team and the cooperation arrangements for applications under Key Action 2 Strategic Partnerships, and the project's impact and dissemination. The elements covered by each criterion, as well as the subpoints and scores awarded to each of them, differ from one key action to another. Every criterion has its own weighting. Based on the assessment scores, the proposals get ranked. An evaluation committee uses this ranking as the basis for the proposed selection of as many of the top-ranked proposals as the budget can fund. You can consult the Erasmus Plus guide for experts on quality assessment to obtain more information on the awarding process and scoring. Now you have an overview of the Erasmus Plus application process. In addition to following the online course, we recommend that you get familiar with the Erasmus Plus program guide and all the supporting materials provided by your national agency. The national agencies also run information activities to provide guidance to organizations and how to apply for funding. Make sure you attend their events and ask for advice. We wish you the best of luck with your application.